Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We've got a fun episode, as always, here on VCTV. Today, we're going to be talking about the Internet of Things, 5G, and really the future of connectivity. Now, for those that don't know, the Internet of Things has been around for a while. It's something we've been talking about since 2012, 2013, 2014. We're an industry that was introduced initially by connected devices, was said to be almost $5 billion by the year 2025. Very quickly exploded to being over $16 trillion to then being completely unquantifiable, with the realization that the Internet of Things touches everything, all industries, all devices, and each and every one of us. Now, with the introduction of 5G, and in some cases 6G or others, and edge computing, this has revolutionized the way that we think about our devices, ourselves, data, and everything else going forward. And an exciting time, fast forwarding ourselves almost 10 years now since the introduction of the term Internet of Things, to the reality of these devices connecting, communicating, and us doing the same with them as well. I'm joined today by three outstanding co-hosts here on VCTV who are investors and also developers and builders in these spaces along with myself. And so we're going to be breaking all of this down. The comments box is open. Drop your questions in there, your comments. Say hi from where you're tuning in to around the world. We'd love to have you. And a big thank you to the LaToken team and to Maria and Hasmik for making today's episode possible. Make sure to check us out on LaToken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. With that, let's go ahead and introduce today's co-host, Dr. Srikanth. Welcome back to the show. I'm going to kick it off with you. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
So I act as a counsel for the Forbes 500. And one of the things that we are grappling with within India is that we just had an advent of 4G, and it seemed like yesterday that we started using. I mean, we jumped from 2G to 4G, and now we're talking about 5G, and then we're talking about the government investing in infrastructure to the tune of about. Kyle, you mentioned a number of 16 trillion. Of the 16 trillion, the government's planned budgeted expenditure is coming up to about 2.4 trillion. So that's 1/8 of what is being planned as an industry itself. So this is tangible, real number that the government has budgeted for IoT, for 5G as such. 5G phones have started coming. I'm not using a 5G phone. My wife is using a 5G phone. The sky is the limit when you talk about speeds which are touching 1 TB per second. Then you have to imagine the trading that happens, especially I was a trader before, especially at the trading desk. How quickly to share those perspectives, and also the perspective of how the Forbes 500 actually think. Thank you very much, Kai.
Thank you as well. And Vandana, welcome to the show. A little intro and a little background.
First of all, thank you, Kylie, for having me here. And it's great to meet you after a very, very long time. I'm happy to see Gary and Dr. Srikanth as well. I was in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years in investment banking. I had my own family office fund there. This is my 7th year back in India. I did some investments, went back to advisory. Currently, I'm connected with 300 investors globally, and I do pick up global deals. In terms of ticket size, we do $1 million to $25 million. We are sector agnostic, and I have given almost 151 talks worldwide, including the talks which I give in LaToken. And this week, I am listed as the top 10 Women Leaders in Wealth Management 2021. And the article would be published next week on this.
Wow, congratulations
Thank you.
on that. That's very, very exciting. Congratulations. Lastly, Gary, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure, my friend. A little intro, a little background for those who may not know you.
It's great to be here, and it's great to see you, Kyle. It's great to be back in Silicon Valley. I feel so nice. I feel like I'm in a museum coming back to my place. Anyhow, my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I love artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and of course 5G. I've been in business. I've been doing businesses for startups for 34 years. Today, I love artificial intelligence and quantum. That's really our focus. I've been involved in 2 unicorns, Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion about less than 3 years ago, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded 5 years ago with Dr. David Zhang, and located in Santa Clara, California. Actually, right now, my office is in Santa Clara. I'm in San Jose, but it's great to be here, and it's great to see smiling faces and friends. Thanks, Kyle.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And to have the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence with us as well. I mean, it's a pleasure. But everyone, I want to jump right in to this topic. And I kind of teed us up here in the beginning of the Internet of Things, where it's come, where it's gone. And now it's a part of life. And we'd love to hear from each of you kind of where you're seeing this industry evolve. I mean, you've got the Internet of Things. We have devices in our life now that are connected and connected in ways that weren't even 5 years ago. We have now some of those devices that are connected to 5G and running off 5G in other places of connectivity like edge and otherwise. Autonomously. And we have artificial intelligence or beginnings of artificial intelligence being applied to some of these devices. What is, from each of your view, what are you seeing as kind of the current state of where all these technologies are starting to mix? And Gary, I want to start with you. I mean, IoT, AI, this world has come together. What are you seeing happening in this space, whether it be investments or just your knowledge as someone as an industry expert?
Yeah, I mean, the situation is, look at the world around us with the Internet of Things. Look at all the data that's generated. Our lives are going to fundamentally change over the next couple of years. Why? Because the information that we're able to get because of sensors, thinking like farming 4.0, being able to be on a farm, understanding exactly what's happening on that farm and be able to course correct. Health tech inside your body, whether it be smart pills, whether it be other connected devices, but real-time information that we not only get, but we're able to use artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning to be able to analyze, to be able to course correct. Think about it. You go into a doctor today, you have a physical, a yearly physical. The next day something happens and you have a change in your metabolism, a change in maybe it's skin cancer. Well, it may be another year before you get back to that doctor. We need to have real-time information to be able to act upon it, to be able to course correct very quickly. Now, add on top of that the amount of data on the planet Earth. The new calculation is there's 49 zettabytes of data. Well, if you take data and look at it, if you had CDs stacked on top of each other, now it's 35 times you could stack CDs back and forth to the moon, 35 times. So we're in a state of infobesity. And when we have IoT, so IoT has given us the ability to collect the data. 5G is really a turbocharger and a network, and artificial intelligence has really given us a lot of electricity. Look at it compared to the beginning of the 20th century when electricity was discovered, how much our lives changed in the next 30 years. Well, it's happening today. We are in a state of infobesity. There's going to be 2 levels of people on the planet, the people that understand the data and the people that don't. And the evolution, the move towards not smart, but intelligent assistants. Assistants that truly guide us throughout our life. And you see it happening today in all kinds of ways, shapes, or forms. But those new intelligent assistants are going to be out there, are going to be with us, kind of like guardian angels for everything. So it's really, it's an incredible time.
couldn't agree more. I mean, we've always heard about the promise of all of this that you just mentioned. I mean, even around digital health and being able to see that data real time and make real time reactions. And now some of it we're starting to finally see, and we're starting to see that move into mobility. We're starting to see that move into the industrial sector, and we're starting to see that now move into commerce, as well as autonomous vehicles and robots are delivering our food as well. Dr. Srikanth, and what are you seeing in this space as well, and this intersection of all these technologies starting to come together?
So let me single out 5G as such, because in India at least, or in emerging economies, I think the leap from 2G to 4G was just phenomenal, and it was too much for the population to bear. Now it has become a norm that you get speeds up to 30 Mbps or 100 Mbps and so on and so forth. But it was unimaginable even 6 years back. And I remember that for 1 GB of data, I used to pay about $10. Now 1 GB of data, I pay 10 cents. The cost reduction has gone down. I think the real question that we need to ask ourselves is, if the government is behind these infrastructural changes that are going to be made in the 5G space as such, is it a right time for entrepreneurs to actually capitalize on that particular infrastructural investment that is being made by the government? So maybe piggybacking with the government would be the right opportunity insofar as 5G is concerned. And the second point that I want to make is, yes, 5G is here by 2025 or 2030. We will be completely on 5G. But what on 5G? I mean, I think people are still grappling with the question of what to do with so much speed. 1 TB per second. What to do with that particular speed? I think the answer lies in the trading desk, as I mentioned earlier. The answer lies in e-commerce. The answer lies in AI, as Gary very rightly said. I think those are the kind of speeds that are required to address that. So 5G is an enabler, but at the same time, we are also going to be facing a paradox of having 5G and not knowing what to do with it. So it will be a shame to actually have 5G and actually not know what to do with it, is what my opinion is.
Yeah, or underutilize it, right? And we're already looking at 6G. I mean, Samsung, I believe it was, is already looking at 6G implementation. So we're already past 5G in some cases.
And 4G is underutilized in India. We are talking about 15% of the world's population not having a proper utilization of 4G, which is currently there. And what will happen when 5G comes in? Will the world just change? I mean, would I be able to download more movies on Pirate Bay? I mean, that was a thing 10 years ago, right?
Right. Well, and that's a great question. You know, where is the application? So let me get Vandana's thoughts on where the industry is, and then let's get back to the applications, because I think you're bringing up a great question of where are the applications when it comes to 5G, you know, consumer versus enterprise versus industrial. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. Vandana, your views on where all of this is in terms of an intersection of IoT, 5G, and the like.
So I'll go back to way in time when demonetization came in India. Many people in India didn't know how to use the digital payment system. Only when they were forced to use because of demonetization, they started using it. And now even the milkman, the vegetable man, everybody uses the digital payment system. Similarly, when COVID hit us, what happened was that many people were skeptical to use platforms like Zoom, AirMeet, StreamYard. And only when they, were forced to use these platforms, they realized that how effective, these platforms can be. And so my thoughts are that, I think we need to be progressive and we need to adapt and change by time. So just how much 5G will impact IoT when depends in large part on the use case. The primary attributes of 5G include significantly faster data, throughout support for massive machine type communications in which large numbers of machines or devices communicate without any human interaction or control, and ultra reliable, low latency communication, uh, you know, uh, says Bill Menendez, senior principal analyst at research firm Gartner. The technology's ultra reliability comes from its ability to provide a static quality of service or real time communication versus the best efforts data delivery of Ethernet based technologies such as Wi Fi. And in addition to 5G, has a theoretical latency of less than 1 millisecond in later releases. This is what he says, as opposed to 20 to 40 milliseconds typically in current generation Wi-Fi deployments. All of these attributes are relevant to IoT, but the degree of relevance depends on an IoT endpoints and application requirements. The Internet of Things is on rise. The number of connected devices is set to increase from 700 million to 3.2 billion by 2023. While there are a number of factors contributing to this rise, one of the most important will be the development of 5G networks. The upcoming launch of the fifth generation of cellular mobile communications or 5G is great news for the IoT market. This is primarily due to the fact that 5G networks will go a long way towards improving the performance and reliability of these connected devices. Here's why. Data transfer speeds. The commercial success of any IoT is ultimately tied to its performance, which is dependent on how quickly it can communicate with other IoT devices, smartphones, tablets, software in the form of its app or website, and more. With 5G, data transfer speeds will increase significantly. And according to reports, 5G will be 10 times faster than the current LTE networks. This increase in speed will allow IoT devices to communicate and share data, faster than ever. And when it comes to smart home devices, for example, this increase in speed will help to reduce lag and improve the overall speed in which connected devices send and receive data and notifications. Besides smart home devices, nearly all IoT devices will benefit from greater speeds, including those with healthcare and industry applications. In addition to the increase in speed, 5G networks will operate more reliably, creating more stable connections. Having a reliable and stable network conditions is extremely important for any IoT, but especially for connected devices like locks, security cameras, and other monitoring systems that depend on real-time updates. With the ability of a 5G network to handle more connected devices, consumers will benefit from greater reliability of their connected devices. Now, the high-speed connectivity, very low latency, and greater coverage that will arrive with the next generation network will be the key for IoTs. Now, to take advantage of these improvements, manufacturers must first invest in building 5G compatible devices, and manufacturers must equally embrace quality assurance testing to ensure that the new devices and software function and performance, as intended across a variety of conditions. And if not, many new devices will flop as a result of bugs that will reduce the potential gains that 5G has to offer. So I
With
feel.
that being, sorry, go ahead, Vandana, go ahead and finish. Sorry, apologies. I have a question for what you're just saying, but go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, what I feel is that, we humans, we need to adapt with the, progressive things and be proactive in everything. And once we start, using these kind of technologies and, networks, I think there will be a lot more advantages. And I think we need to see the positive sides of it more.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, taking back to that question, I was going to propose
Mm,
is, I mean, where are the applications to be built now? I mean, we've seen this wave of the last
mm,
decade, and where a lot of that focus was. A lot was on consumer. There was a little bit on enterprise. Some difficulty,
mm,
to Dr. Srikanth's point, of trying to integrate with government initiatives around IoT connectivity within smart cities, and then you get into other things around mobility, and just it's been a difficult process in some cases to implement technologies into these established industries. So now, for each of you in overall, and then in your respected fields, is where do we
mm.
go from here? Where are the applications? Where should people be building? Enterprise, consumer, infrastructure. Whether that's, and Dr. Srikanth, I want to come to you first, and then Vandana, I'm going to come back to you. So Dr. Srikanth, when it comes to 5G, you're speaking highly on 5G around India. Where is the opportunity for a use case to be developed for those that are listening? Is it on enterprise? Is it on consumer? Is it infrastructure?
So I think the capabilities to be built on an enterprise is fairly it could be done much more rapidly than bringing in the government. So think about it this way, okay? We've got India, which is representing about 15% of the world's population, and we've got China, which is representing about 20% or 25% of the world population. So put together, cumulatively, we have 40% of the world population, and which depend on the government for supporting the infrastructure that is needed for 5G. 40% of the world is dependent on the government for infrastructure. So, however, how much ever the private enterprises try to bring up, I mean, my wife has a 5G phone and so on and so forth. I think it's a long way to actually realize the potential of 5G. As I said, the first ones to adapt would be the trading desk, because they need information in a millisecond, because the fluctuations that happen in the trade and so on and so forth. But it is alarming. I mean, I'm departing from the overall narrative. I'm being pessimistic over here. It is alarming that 40% of the world is dependent on the government for infrastructure, and something needs to be addressed on that front.
I agree. For me, it's still agriculture, mobility. There's so much opportunity. Gaming is still an untapped opportunity around 5G and connectivity as a whole. But Vandana, back to you. I mean, where are you seeing areas of application? Having invested in so many areas, also being based in Southeast Asia, in some of these prominent countries. I mean, Singapore has had great strides around the Internet of Things. As well, with implementing of technology. We've seen 5G there, also in mainland China and some other areas and regions within Southeast Asia. So where do you see the opportunity? Is it enterprise? Is it consumer? Maybe one in specific?
I think it's more to the infrastructure, because if we speak about India, then I think I would agree with Dr. Srikanth. I mean, infrastructure needs to be in place to implement these technologies. If we have smart cities, then the kind of infrastructure needs to be there. In other countries, it's more of enterprises, that have implemented this, and I see it more in the healthcare sector, which is really, really important at this stage of the kind of crisis that we are going through. And AI, of course, like Gary mentioned. So so I think if we just pick up India, then it's definitely infrastructure where we need to improve.
Mm-hmm. And Gary, what about yourself? I mean, IoT, but also really AI. I mean, bring in artificial intelligence, add that autonomy layer, that autonomous layer on top of the promise of IoT and the devices we have. You have a future world that we've all dreamt of or seen in science fiction, but where should someone be starting? Is the opportunity consumer or enterprise?
I mean, the opportunity is everywhere, right? So in terms of 5G, I mean, just look at Verizon. And 4G, it's 27.4 megabits, and 5G, it's 494.7. So it's, enterprise, of course. I mean, think about it. Unencumbers us. Think about home networking. Think about not having to have the devices, the routers, the modems in your house. You can use the 5G. I mean, it's really untethered us. It's changed everything. And in terms of IoT, what we've been looking for, and I remember a few months ago, I had Shamir Sharma from Intel, who's the head of Internet of Things. We had an interview. And one of the things we talked about, it really unencumbers us. Think about smart cities, all the sensors that can be used. Think about farming. Think about manufacturing and having all the devices in the floor, not having to worry about setup, but instantly being able to connect those devices, not having to go down through as we do today and use the current infrastructure. So what we need to do is we need to look at all the different ways. It's going to allow us to have a lot of points of data as a consumer. Think about it. It again, for your home, for things like Zoom. I don't know about you, but I'm able to do it a lot better than I was, a year ago because of 5G. Think about the speed. So it's just fundamentally changing. It allows us to be able to connect it anywhere at any time. And then you have 6G coming in, as we talked about. Places like China are starting to roll it out. That allows you to do more AR, more VR, and just it allows us to really define that connection, the quality of the connection. Now, at the same time, there's some concerns about 5G and health, whether or not there's challenges because of multi arrays that they use. Does it going to affect our health in some way, shape, or form? There's some really interesting conversations that healthcare professionals are having about that. Are these signals going to do something for us because of the wideband, the high frequency? So, it's taking the IoT and providing a pathway for all those things out there to be connected. Now, again, with all those things connected, we're going to do massive amounts of data. Massive amounts of data. As I've said many times, in your personal cloud, you have about 300,000 items today. With the Internet of Things, in 5 years, you'll have 10 million. Well, imagine having all that data to be able to process. So infobesity is upon us. We need to go down through. It's not about collecting it. It's about understanding it and having the ability to be able to act upon it. And with the combination of 5G, with a combination of artificial intelligence, with a combination of Internet of Things, we're now in a perfect world if we use it correctly. It's a matter of, can we use semi-supervised and unsupervised artificial intelligence to help us make decisions better, and more importantly, to make decisions for us so we don't have to. Our brain processes 60,000 complex transactions per day. We are, as I said, in a state of infobesity because, think about it, just in your email. One example of how overwhelmed we are. How many times every week does somebody say to you, Kyle, I've sent over a message. Where did you send it? I sent it to your email. Which email? I sent it to your Gmail account. When did you send it? 2 weeks ago. Will you send it again? It's like standard answers because we are inundated with so much information. And the Internet of Things is just really going to compound it. It's going to make it 100x problem for each and every one of us.
You're absolutely right, and with that, as we come to close here for today's topic and look to wrap, where do you place your bets? Is there a specific region in the world? Is there a specific use case? Where are you placing those bets? For me, again, a big area is looking at gaming, how blockchain applies to enabling the Internet of Things as a missing layer within that infrastructure stack. And helping to empower 5G. But Vandana, let's start with you. In your closing thoughts, where do you look to place your bets in this area? And then where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, so I could be reached out at LinkedIn or my website, www.convanto.com. Right now, our focus is on fintech, agri-tech, edutech, health tech, and deep tech, which are matching with the IoTs and other stuff that we discussed today. We are also looking into crypto and blockchain, especially in the agriculture space. I could be reached out at LinkedIn, and very grateful to be here and having a conversation with all of you on this topic.
Thank you very much. Dr. Srikanth, to you, where are you placing your bets on the future of the Internet of Things and the technologies we've talked about, including 5G? And then any closing thoughts and where can you be found?
I think I would place my bet on something called the PPP model, the public-private partnership model. I think that is where the big money basically lies, because developing or building on 5G and IoT would require a bit. I mean, the government is just pouring out money out there. So having some association with the government over here, I can say that the PPP model is something that I would place my bet on, and definitely India. 2.4 trillion is not a small amount. It may be a small amount for Gary at least, but it's definitely not a small amount for me. So India would be the market, and I could be found on LinkedIn.
All right, there we go. Gary, same question to you. Where are you placing your bets and where can you be found?
Yeah, I mean, Srikanth is right. India is a great market, and also Africa, the 1.3 billion people, and it's really untapped. And one of the things that 5G does is allows you to be able to, sidestep some of the issues, so you don't have to have all that hardware that you would have in the 3G or 4G world. So there are emerging opportunities. I'm looking at really the marriage between artificial intelligence, semi-supervised and unsupervised, as I said, in the Internet of Things. So it's an exciting world, exciting opportunities ahead of us. Where am I placing my bets? I'm looking for opportunities where countries, where companies want to really adopt that technology faster, that want to deal with that massive overload, that infobesity that we have. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can reach me in Twitter. Love to hear from you. Get out there, get them, stay safe. This is a wonderful opportunity for each and every one of us if we use it correctly.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Gary, Vandana, and Dr. Srikanth. Really appreciate your time and energy today, and also insights on really the future of 5G and connectivity. This is a very exciting world, as you've all presented, and we've got some great opportunities to think about as well. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, like, and share today's episode. Also, check out the archive on LaToken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. A very big thank you to LaToken and to Maria and Hasmik for making today's episode possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Please do reach out, as each of our speakers said, to each of them. They would love to hear from you, including myself, on our respected areas. Reach out on social media and do add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about. With that, everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more VCTV. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.